Oh, yeah, drag racing fan. It's Between the Slicks once again. Lee Craft, your host, the Monday Morning Racer, right here on the Monday Morning Racer platforms YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. If we could air to Instagram Live, we would do that there, but you can follow there. But we also want to welcome in the CompetitionPlus.com Facebook channel audience as well. And yes, I have to agree with Hargett Automotive and Performance. Michael Narks will be signing autographs after the show. Yes, Michael Narks of Drag and Drive Addiction. We're going to have him on as our co-host tonight, and looking forward to having him and talking some drag and drive right here on the Monday Morning Racer platform. I have the privilege, the honor to be able to be a part of the stream team on Motor Trend for the Hot Rod Drag Week 2022. Was able to get a lot of great stories, break a few things that were big, and experience my first ever drag and drive, the granddaddy of them all, the big one, Hot Rod Drag Week. And certainly looking forward to chatting with Michael about all of that. Yes, we'll have our regular drag news, because right here on Monday Morning Racer, we talk about all of it in drag racing. And then as our special guest tonight, he's not unfamiliar with myself, the Monday Morning Racer, but first time ever right here on the Between the Slicks, Larry Dixon Jr. Yes, the Top Fuel legend. Well, he participates in drag and drive, such as Hot Rod Drag Week, which he was participating in this year, Midwest Drags. So he's got a cool little hot rod in that Chevy too. Looking forward to talking to him about everything that's going on in his life, from Top Fuel U.S. Nationals to that hot rod and Hot Rod Drag Week. By the way, there is some new content out on the Monday Morning Racer YouTube channel that you can check out. Travis Pastrana got behind the wheel of a Top Fuel dragster. I've got that video. It is like the raw edition, not pretty, not edited. You get to see everything that went on. And then also Pro Modified at ZMAX. You can see round by round action on the Monday Morning Racer YouTube channel. Well, look, without any further ado, we are going to cut to a quick break. And right after that, we're going to have Mr. Narks on. We're going to chat with him on Drag and Drive. Power-Built Tools exemplifies innovation in the tool industry. From hand tools, power tools, and even tool storage. Check out powerbuilt.com for Power-Built Tools. And remember, use promo code MMR15 for 15% off at purchase. Mr. Narks, welcome to Between the Slicks, sir.
Man, I'm excited to be here. I see a bunch of folks in the comments over there. I was blasting out this yesterday, just sending it in every messenger that I could. So for folks that haven't talked to me in a few months that got this link, I hope you're in here. I see Carl Steamy. That's my mama right there. Susan Goff Short. So it's exciting to see everybody in there. I want to say hi to all of them as well. And I would just ask that you guys share this out, because obviously anytime we can have as big as a name as Monday Morning Racer come into the drag and drive community, that's only going to help us all out. So,
well, I appreciate that, man. And definitely, I don't think of myself as no big name at the moment. I hope I can work there and keep moving there. But I will admit, praise the Lord, been able to have some cool moments in drag racing to my credit, and been able to go in and out of a lot of different areas within drag racing. But I had not experienced yet my own drag and drive. And dude, I loved it. As I told you on camera briefly, I really think drag and drive and the hot rod version of it is drag racing's Le Mans. And it lived up to what I had thought seeing it in person. So let's begin there. Hot Rod Drag Week, to the drag and drive world. Capsulize it. What is it? What does it in fact mean, man?
Yeah, for folks that are watching, that maybe watch your show every weekend, or used to taking their car to the track in the weekend, Drag Week is basically it's loading your car up, taking it to one spot, leaving your truck and trailer, and loading everything you'll need throughout the week in that car, and sometimes trailer on the back. and driving 1,000 miles and racing every day, which a lot of racers are not used to, and then coming back, hopefully making the week, wrenching on your car throughout the week, things like that, having a good, solid co-pilot, and just a fun time, really drag racing every day, and hoping you run your best time throughout the week.
Yes, it's a fascinating platform. I was sad we had the rain and didn't get to see the bracket
Yeah,
race side of it on Friday with
yeah, for sure.
the guys that are a part of that, but so fascinating to see drag racing, yes, done differently. It's not
Yeah,
just about what's on the track. It's that time and can I get down the road and get to the next track? And
yeah.
I have told so many people covering it is vastly different than any other drag race I've
Oh man.
covered because it's not just about covering the on track happenings.
Yeah.
It's almost more important to cover what happens off the track than
Yes,
what is
yes.
on. And, I got to experience that my first day, come out of the tower there at Worldwide Technology Raceway, and I'm ready to hit the road. I'm going to follow the route. I'm going to get stories there. And I'm like, oh, I don't got to go nowhere because Blasphemy was having its Hemi yanked out, and another Hemi was coming out
Yes.
of a Gremlin to go in there, and all of that worked out, and it didn't come together. So, what are some of the trials that Mike Finnegan has had with that car? Because everybody that has
I
commented
feel
on my
so
video
bad.
and elsewhere, they're like, dude, just stop the Hemi thing. You just move on.
Well, here's the thing. So, us car guys are typically, we're stubborn. We want to go fast with what we want to go fast with, right? Well, I mean, the fast cars are all Hemi cars. The struggle he has with that car is he can't finish a drag and drive event in it. You know, Race Week 2020, they put the bars on backwards, so he was actually shifting 2 to 1. He spun the car 10,000 RPMs. Simple mistakes like that is what happens to a lot of these guys, and there's other stories we'll tell later about that too. But as you're thrashing to get a car ready, one just for a race, a typical drag race, all you got to do is make 4 or 5 passes. Well, now you're talking about making 4 or 5 passes at the track and then driving this car 300 miles, and you have to be there the next day. So you're not looking at the overall perspective when you're wrenching on that car. So a guy like Mike Finnegan, he has other project cars, has a ton of stuff he can wrench on, but now this car, he has to win with this car. He has to just dominate this car, because that's what now is in our minds, because he's like, I want to finish with this car no matter what the deal is. And so of course he makes it to the line. We're all excited. There's like 11 people that are live in the lanes trying to get this shot, and he doesn't make it. Doesn't even make a pass.
Yeah.
I don't think made a pass on day 1, but ended up making a pass maybe day 5. I don't
Day,
remember. No, he didn't make a pass day 5, did he?
day one, it was a pass, but he
That's right.
was running lean toward the end, and I'm sure ran nowhere near what he should have in
Yep.
that machine. It was like a 959
Yep.
smoking through the lights.
Yep.
And yeah, he bit it.
Yeah, I see Andy here saying, I don't think the Hemi is unreliable. It's a few human errors that have caused his issues, and that's really the struggle a lot of people have is they run into that. They are thrashing to get everything done just in time, end up not making it. You make a bad decision or you miss a bolt, and that's what ends up happening.
Right, right. And I am glad they decided not to move on with the engine they got out of the Gremlin. They just had too many things they had to work
Yep.
out, and like even the oiling of the engine. And
Yeah.
yeah, they were like, we're done, we're done.
Yeah.
And it was
Because
fascinating.
I understand one was an iron block and his is an aluminum block or something like that, and
Yes.
the mounting points were all different. Yeah, I don't blame him.
Yeah, there was a lot of hurdles to overcome, and they had already fabricated some things to get over those hurdles. And you can. I've got the video on my channel. They even use bread to get the throw out bearing or something out. To keep hammering it and slowly bring it out. Like I'd never seen that. I'm like, we're pulling
Yep.
out all the stops here at Worldwide Technology
Yeah, yeah.
Raceway in the
Well,
pit
welcome
too.
to Drag and Drive.
Right, right. Welcome
Yep.
to Drag and Drive. Whatever you've got to do. Yes, the
Yep.
Busch Light beer case as a head gasket. Whatever's going to get us down
Yes.
the road.
Yes. It's funny you mentioned that. Nick Deal and his brother David, they actually cut up beer cans from the trash can to make shims for the rockers so they could keep their car going.
There you go.
I mean, and that is one of hundreds of stories for guys to get through the week, because the folks out here, a typical big NHRA weekend is what, 400 or 500 cars probably.
Yes.
You end up, we started with 337 at Drag Week, which is the most we've started with at any event throughout the year. And then think of all those cars. All those cars have to make the week. There are people putting transmissions in. There's people putting rear ends together. It's an amazing adventure for sure.
Yeah, it fascinated me. I'll say it this way: the heavy hitters. I mean, they were doing maintenance that is not uncommon for a NHRA Pro Mod team or a
Yeah,
PDRA, Pro Mod team before going to doing 250 miles.
yeah,
And the dedication of, oh, let me take the intake off of this thing and the heads off of this thing each and every day,
yep.
then go to do 250 miles was impressive. Or, Goldstone and his
Oh yeah,
co-pilot Brian, I I was following them and on day 2, and they went ahead of me, and then I blew past them so quick. I didn't even hardly register that they were on the side of the road, and they had started overheating a little bit because they had got low on fluid earlier in the day, and they had to sacrifice to the javelin their own personal big bottles of water to make sure they get
yes,
to the next checkpoint before they
yep,
could get more water. So you've got these stories of sacrifice and grit to complete the event, much less win the thing.
yeah. And that's exactly right. And so Tammy Barter Hargett there in the comments saying they use a Drag Week 10 license plate to fix Brent Sinclair's exhaust. I mean, literally blew a hole in the exhaust, fixed it with some self tappers and the Hot Rod Drag Week license plate. I mean, it's fixes like that because again, you're just trying to get through to the week. You're trying to get to the O'Reillys or AutoZone or Lowe's, as the Patina Pit Stop talking about there, the no nose Corvette. You saw the Lowe's performance exhaust drain pipe that was the exhaust, so his dad wouldn't be huffed out for sure. So it, the ingenuity of drag and drive racers, there's nothing like it. When you start looking, a lot of guys will drag a car to the track on their trailer. They'll run 11s. They'll break something. They'll just put it back on the trailer, and it'll be down for months. These
Right.
guys are 400 miles from home. You've got to fix it to get back. Plus, the other racers want to help you fix it so you can get on to the next track. They're there to really help.
Regularly over the
Yes.
PA system, we have a racer in need, and have people coming out of the woodwork to help
Yep.
those racers, or even fans in the stands saying, "Hey, I've got a shop down the road. We can hook you up. We can get you back out there on the
Yep.
track and down the road." So the
Yep.
camaraderie was spectacular to see within that racing community as well. Well, look, Michael, before we go any further, take the screen and let folks
Yeah.
know where they can follow and find you.
Yeah, definitely. So drag_in_drive on Instagram is probably our most active social media platform. And then of course, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, everywhere else. If I'll email you if you want to send me your email, I don't care. I'm gonna push drag and drive until we are in the front. It's the best style of event I can ever imagine. But to find all of our racer lists, which I'll talk about here in just a minute, you can go to draganddrive.com at drag-in-drive.com. I'm sure Lee will have it down in the comments or in the description later. There you can find racer lists for like historical data, the Billy Gebhardt memorial lists from all of Hot Rod Drag Week historical data. We have all kinds of lists, breakdown classes in there. And then we have Rocky Mountain Race Week historical data. And then, of course, 21 and 22 stats as well. Anything from the top 100 cars, which for 2022 is the first time we've ever had the number 100 spot being under a 9-second car, which is exciting to finish the week. And then obviously we have regional events that are going to start popping up and things like that. So
your top 3 favorite vehicles that you saw at Hot Rod Drag Week 2022, because there is a cornucopia of
oh man,
vehicles in Drag Week and these drag and drives. If any flavor, every flavor is
yeah, yep.
represented, what were your top 3?
So I'm a little different. A lot of people like the really fast stuff, that really wild stuff. The 3 that Casey from Patina Pit Stop mentioned is one of them. The bolt off escape, mainly because that guy has a 10-second car, but ends up purchasing his $700 sister's Ford Escape, and then they completely gut it. So it's a V6 front wheel drive. They completely gut it, end up getting it into the 14s. I'm talking like plexiglass windows, racing bucket, everything, cut the exhaust off. So that was a fun one. The Bolt Off Escape, the No Face Corvette, that's a fun one as well. The C3 Corvette with the Turbo LS in it. Those guys drove it all week. It was Turbo LS with a Power Glide, fun car, easy. That car had been hidden away in a body shop for 30 years, and then they put it back together. I love those kind of stories because he didn't have to make it nice to bring it out. And then probably my third one, and really just because I got a little closer to those folks on Midwest Drags, was the Hargets and Sinclairs. I love the Catfish Camaro. They were talking about earlier. It's a beautiful red, 4th-gen Camaro with a huge Holly high ram on it, and a big turbo, and that car goes 770s. So it goes faster than 770s, but he finishes the year with the 770 average. So,
right.
So those are it's small tire car, and I think Ryan said, well, it goes fastest small tire car on the property. So it's pretty awesome.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, That's a good selection there. I was taken back by one Goldstone with his Javelin. Yep. You don't see many Javelins, and they had one that looked right. And then his story, too, apparently flipping last year or 2 years ago and coming out and in his class doing so well and performing so well. And they had some adversity that they had to overcome. So that was a great story. I love my gassers. Obviously, anybody that knows my channel, I cover Southeast Gassers Association. So there were plenty of gassers. I was shocked how many gasser-esque vehicles there were, honestly. I didn't know it was that popular within Hot Rod Drag Week. And
lots of 2-lane blacktop cars. We pitted by Jim and Dan, who had one of the flat black 55s, and that car, Jericho 4-speed big block car, super fun. That was their first drag and drive event, and those guys are hooked, and they're probably in their 60s, I would say, something like that.
Right. And Herschel, I can't remember his last name. I think Cronin, I believe it was, but Herschel with his Ford-powered 55 Chevrolet, he kind of flipped it. People usually put the Chevy in the Ford. I love that. That was great to see. And then I know this might get some flack, but I thought it was very intriguing. I got an interview with him, Jeremy Hammer, and the Tesla. That was intriguing, very intriguing. And, something that I wanted to know, I had to know. I'm like, okay, there are prescribed routes and checkpoints. Mm-hmm. What have you done charging wise? And he kind of compared it back to everybody else. He's like, well, they're looking for exotic fuels. It's kind of the same thing, me looking for a charge. And it actually works out, and it's not that bad right now in 2022.
One thing that's really neat about Hammer, too, is that he actually reset the EV record for Drag and Drive event. Yep. So that's pretty cool. I mean, and dropped it by almost half a second. So that's a pretty big deal.
That's a chunk.
That's a chunk, especially when you're talking 10-second cars, not like a 14 to a 13. I mean, you're talking gets down. Were you in the lanes or watching when him and the Blower Nova raced? That Blower Nova, that white one that just kept doing the huge wheelies and bouncing and stuff. Mm-mm. Man, it was it's gone crazy and viral on Instagram and stuff because, of course, EV versus hot rod gasser there. It worked out well. But there was a ton of really cool gassers. One other car I thought about as you were talking there is Bernie, the diesel truck, the 30s or 40s diesel truck. That was a favorite of mine too.
So I believe it's the 45 Chevrolet. I believe it is.
There you go.
Yes. Yeah. I spoke with them briefly, and very interesting ride they've got. And hey, rolling coal is cool. I don't care what nobody says. It is pretty cool.
And it's a compound setup. And then, the multicolored diesel dually. I mean, come on, that dude run 9 second at the end of the week. I mean, it's crazy.
Yes. So, everything at Drag Week, from Tom Bailey able to run in the 5s to the truck door. I mean, you have everything out there.
Jesse Metaferry,
It is amazing. It is amazing. Now, I wanted to ask, definitely you're at so many of these events that are drag and drive style, and they're growing, they're becoming more popular, and they're popping up, seems like everywhere. There's Rocky Mountain, there's Midwest. I know I'm hearing a Carolina one is being formed or started or could happen.
Yep.
There's
already in the works,
There you go. There's Sick Week. And obviously the Granddaddy Hot Rod Drag Week.
Yeah.
Break down some of the nuances, the characteristics of each of these drag and drives and how they are in and of themselves, though under a similar platform, unique.
Yeah. So actually, and I'll have this out on the website later, probably later this week or maybe over the weekend, because you inspired me to write this because there are so many differences between them. Location is one of the biggest ones. Obviously, Florida for Sick Week. We're setting up for that February 13th through 17th. Oh, I got something up with my camera there. February 13th through 17th. It starts at Orlando, works its way around South Georgia Motorsports Park. So Northern Florida for it, you've got Rocky Mountain, which is going to start in Colorado or Nebraska. It's going to run around those states about 1,000 or 1,200 miles. Sick Week follows a lot of the same setup as Drag Week and Midwest Drags, with racing in the morning every morning. You have a few 100-mile drive or 100, 150-mile drive for Sick Week, 200 or 300-mile drive for Drag Week and Midwest Drags. And then Rocky Mountain does it differently with their two events, which is Rocky Mountain Race Week, which is in June. And then you have Race Week, which is in September, which is in Texas and Oklahoma. Those events both race at night, which I love. I love the night racing because you can race, hang out for a couple hours with your friends, and then drive for a few hours, because you're going to be in the middle of generally nowhere, because that's how tracks are. You can drive to your hotel, or you can drive on through the night and drive in the cool weather. Well, it's very hard to do that with Drag Week, Midwest Drags, and Sick Week, because there's no one behind you, which is typically the best idea, because you want, if you break something, you want to be able to, give the old thumbs down and tell people, hey, I need a wheel bearing, or I need a rocker set for my Turbo LS setup. And those are the easy things. Obviously, this thing I'm writing up will have a lot of the differences, but typically location is the biggest part of it. And that's why it makes so nice for 2022 to have 5 national drag and drive events. And then there are still 7 or 8 regional events that are weekend style, 2 or 3 day events, things like that are popping up everywhere. And I love it. We've got stuff in Carolinas. We've got stuff in Indiana. There's stuff coming for Texas that we haven't even rolled out yet that we're talking about. There's some rumors of things, because the Pacific Northwest never gets anything fun. So there's nothing up that way. So I've heard of one that's going on up that way too.
It doesn't. It really
doesn't. Yeah. And people say it's gorgeous country, and they've got tracks that would fit the, an event. A lot of people, and for the folks that are thinking about this, you hear about these major events all the time. And that's what I want to help push, is these regional events, because it's so much easier for a racer that is maybe hesitant to spend the kind of money it takes to be in Hot Rod Drag Week or Sick Week or Midwest Drags. You can go out and spend a Friday night and Saturday night at a hotel and drive 200, 300 miles to test out, see if you even want to do this. Race on Friday night, race on Saturday, race on Sunday. So I think that's the next big wave we're going to see, is obviously that, because it's very hard to put on a national event. But just about anybody that is heavily interested in this can put on a regional event, and hopefully it won't suck, because that's what we don't need. We don't need people to do this for the money, and we don't need people to do this because, oh, I think I can do that, and then you suck at it. We need high quality events.
Certainly. And you mentioned, the 5 national events and many other regional events. Is anybody working on, or is there already some type of program out there that if you win one, you win your way into another one, or if you win several, there's a multiplier or something of that nature out there? Kind of like what you might see in the dirt track world. If you win this, you enter into that.
That's what I'm hoping a lot of these regional events will do. Now, Tom Bailey did change things up with Sick Week, so he is allowing the fastest 3 cars from any of the other events, any other national events, to get early registration, which is a huge plus that typically doesn't happen, especially since all these events are selling out. So that's a step definitely in the right direction. So, big thumbs up to Tom Bailey for doing that.
And Ryan Hargett, that's like all racing. But yes, especially drag and drive, it seems.
Yes, because here's the thing about drag and drive. You go into it typically tired. Brian Havlick and Rich Bellman are a great example of this. They went in after a 22-hour a day for 3 days straight thrash to get Brian's car ready. Well, then they make a simple mistake, break a valve spring, absolutely have zero. They have no more in them. They just don't, and we're adult men. You don't have that in you anymore to just go hard like that. And so they threw in the towel, sadly. And then Friday when I saw Brian, he was like, if we'd had more rest, we could have fixed it. Or we would have fixed it. Not that we could have, we would have fixed it because you would have just had that much more energy, but had that much more mental capacity to handle that. So that's the part that people don't get is like, you've got to, this is planning, especially to run a fast car. And like the Havlicks, they have fast NA cars, which are the hardest cars to ever race because of the violent valve train it takes to put a car in the 8-second time range.
A lot of management, yes. I mean, even from the media side, obviously I wasn't working on a car, but it's like, man, I get the blasphemy story.
Yeah.
And the whole entire rest of the week, I felt like I was behind schedule because that was stay with them to 9:30 p.m., drive to Indy, by the way, go into another time zone where I lose an hour. I had 2 videos to edit. I'm up to 4 a.m. I get to Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park at about noon. Racing's nearly done. And I'm like, oh, what do I do? What do I cover?
Yeah.
And,
if you were a racer, that would have never worked.
Yeah, it wouldn't.
You'd been back up at 7. And then, so think about that. You're on 2 hours of sleep going into the second day. Now you break something. Drag Racing Central has a great question there if you want to bring it up. He says, as someone who absolutely knows nothing about drag and drive, how's the overall winner decided? It is actually on your daily average. Spread across the 4 days. So Tom Bailey won with like a 680 or a 653. And so they took the 4 days best pass average and turned those in. And that's how you come up with the winner. He actually only beat Michael Westberg by just hundredths of a second across the averages.
Is it not amazing that over 4 or 5 days you've got that close?
Oh man.
And it comes down to the wire.
Yep.
And then and honestly, within Hot Rod Drag Week, we didn't get the whole next day. I mean, we still there is that what could have been in the scenario because of the rain.
Here's a great example. Alex Taylor runs 7.0s all week, struggles, turns in a 13-second pass at Cordova, puts her out of winning her class. She ends up second in her class, but for what we do, the top 100, she drops from what would be a potential 10th place finish for the year to like 83rd because of one bad day. And that's drag and drive right there in a nutshell. And she's entered, I think that made her, so she did Sick Week 1.0 and then Drag Week. So she had done 3 events, but had not finished the other 2. So her average stands at the end of the year of like an 8.7, and she's in the number 90th something spot or 83rd spot for the year on our top 100.
Wow.
Yep.
That is wild for sure. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're still waiting on Larry Dixon to get in. He will be our guest later on tonight. Going to take a quick little break and going to dive into some drag news because right here on Between the Slicks, we love to talk about it all in the world of drag racing. And the world of drag racing is certainly diversified. So very quickly, Michael, I'm going to let you drop out. We'll bring you back in. I'm going to cover some drag news right here on the Monday Morning Racer platform, Between the Slicks live. And thank you all for tuning in. To begin the drag news segment of the show tonight, well, in the NMCA, Randy Merrick gets it done at the last event of the year at Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park. Yes, as the drag and drive guys were rolling out, the NMCA was rolling in. Randy Merrick there in his Pro Mod, he wins the race, wins the championship, and by the way, set a record. That is a darn good day in drag racing. Dan Fletcher, Dan the Man, picked up his 106th national event win in the NHRA. He surpasses Frank and only second to John Force. Yes, this dude in this bad Camaro, you do not want to line up against him because he's probably going to beat you. Dan Fletcher, congratulations. If you want to know more about Dan, you can certainly learn more about him right here on the Monday Morning Racer YouTube channel, Between the Slicks. He has been on a couple of occasions chatting with him, even when he tied last year at ZMAX for his 105th. In bracket racing, continuing, Ray Miller III won $100,000 at Bristol Dragway in the fall fling. And that is spectacular that he's able to get that win. And look, drag racing is not dead. Look at the health of Drag and Drive. Look at the health of bracket racing. They had 640-something entries for the fall fling at Bristol Dragway. A lot of cancellations are happening. One cancellation due to Hurricane Ian is the cancellation of PDRA Drag Wars. That event is completely canceled. They look forward to returning back to racing after this cancellation will be their finals at Virginia Motorsports Park later on in the year. So be on the outlook for that. And then in Northeast Outlaw Pro Mod Association drag racing, they were scheduled to race this weekend in Maryland. That will not be the case, again, with the hurricane coming through. Mike Decker Jr., as you see there in his hot rod, his pro mod, he is crowned the champion. It's postponed to 2023. And then, last but not least, Jake O'Patternary. He is going to make his first ever start in Top Fuel at St. Louis. We had him last year, or 2 years ago maybe, right here on Between the Slicks when he licensed in Dale Worsham's Top Fuel dragster. But he is going to be making his first ever attempt to qualify in the NHRA at the Midwest Nationals this weekend, just outside St. Louis in Madison, Illinois at Worldwide Technology Raceway. So, ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for drag news. We do got Larry Dixon in studio. We'll break to him just in a few moments. Going to bring Michael back in with one more question in particular. Michael, when we look at drag racing, there are individuals that have been pioneers, been the people who have formed that particular form of drag racing. When we think overall drag racing, we think of individuals like Don Garlitz, for example. When we think of like pro mod racing, Charles Carpenter is a name that can be thrown in that mix. When we talk drag and drive, who is the Big Daddy? Who is the Connie Coletta? Who is the Snake in?
Oh, yeah.
What's the big names or the big name?
Well, so I'll tell you right now, Jeff Lutz is coming back to Drag and Drive, whether he wants to or not. I'm going to pressure him into it because he has held the fastest record for 6 years, a 6:19 average across Hot Rod Drag Week 2016. So Jeff Lutz for sure. Bailey obviously right behind him, 6:29 for the number 2 spot. With 2:60 passes this week, I really hoped we were going to see Lutz's number fall, because I think once we see Lutz's 6:19 fall, maybe he'll start thinking about coming back. He's a pretty busy guy, but definitely Jeff Lutz is the first guy I think of, but just because he's the fastest ever. But Tom Bailey, and with what he's doing to push Drag and Drive with Sick the Mag and Sick Week, we love that guy.
All right, there we go. Well, another big name in the world of drag racing. We've got him ready and queued up to come on and chat with us about Drag and Drive and Hot Rod Drag Week and beyond. That is Larry Dixon Jr. So, ladies and gentlemen, right after this break, Mr. Dixon, right here on Between the Slicks.
If you own a beautiful modern muscle car like this 1320 Challenger, I'm sure you don't want it stolen. Because the Challenger and many other modern vehicles have an easily accessible neutral release strap. That was your coin holder in your central console, and beneath that there's this red cord that someone can pop, put it into neutral, and potentially easily steal your car. But at Destroyer1320.com they have the TDS, Theft Deterrent System, which is a cover over that strap using factory mounting points so that you don't get popped by a thief. So make sure to go to Destroyer1320.com using promo code MMR for 15% off and get your Theft Deterrent System TDS and steal the thieves' hope.
Larry!
Hey there.
Man, good to have you on. Hey, thanks for making an appearance on my show, not just the Tuesday night show on Competition Plus. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no, happy to have, invite me on. It's it's cool, between the slicks. So yeah, definitely first time for me, and again, appreciate the invite.
Well, Larry, look, I see the Miller Lite sign back there in the background. You had to love that first checkpoint with the huge can.
Oh, it was just like old times for sure. Glad it wasn't a Budweiser can. How's that?
Yes. Michael, man, feel free to jump in.
Yeah. Hey, Larry, I do have just one. I've got to go here in just a few minutes, but I do have one question, dude, because I've seen every time you've attended a drag and drive event, you've always brought the Nova. I'm going through my stats today. I did want to know, I saw you yard selling this year. Is there any reason you prefer to yard sell over, say, bringing a trailer?
You lost me. Yard sale.
Oh, man, when you pack everything in the car and then you get to the track and you unload everything and you explode.
It's kind of when I had the car way back in the day, and street raced it or take it to the track or whatever like that. We couldn't afford trailers, so it was just that's how we rolled. And the same thing, even bringing a set of slicks. I'm driving the car as is, and we're throwing everything in it, and just literally that's how. Everybody's got their own way of doing things. And for me, I want to race the car kind of as is. And yeah, so I never heard that term yard sale. I love it.
Well, I do want to ask you again too. So day one, Larry runs a 10:003. Okay. Now we have a 10 top 25, 10-second racer list. I'll tell you, I got 3 messages within probably 15 minutes of you making that pass of a 10:003 of like, I didn't know Larry was coming. Man, keep me updated on what Larry runs every day. Oh my gosh, is he going to knock me off the? Is he going to become the new 10-0 king?
Yeah, no, and it's funny because I was Kevin McKenna that works for National Dragster, and then he goes and runs it, and I'm like, and he's wanting to run the deal and be close to 10 flat, and me, it's like I want to break in the 9s. Like I'm so. I'm we're both wishing for something else, and no, I mean that running 10 flat, it's like why couldn't it be a 999 with a 9? Like
right.
For me, again, for me, I'm going there not looking to win anything. I'm like the guy that goes to the Boston Marathon or an Ironman triathlon, and I'm going there to not to win, just to try and finish, or run the days. So that was it. And just really have fun with my car, like I love that car and I've had it for so long and it doesn't get enough attention from me. And so to be able to go do it, but yeah, to run the 10 flat, it was kind of fun. I had fun with it for that. And then, like, gosh, why couldn't it have been? And I struggled a little bit, probably more. I got different ideas on, like how I need to drive the car. Cause I did Midwest drags earlier this year and, started out in the 10s and then worked my way down and got, my last run of that, the Midwest drags, it went 989, 136 with it. So it's like, it's in there, I just, I couldn't find it. So but again, it's just, it's for fun. When you're a second and a half off of, the class win, I got no worries about whether I ran a 980 or a 950. It's going to be a long ways away from a W. So it's just, having fun with my car and hanging out with other guys that, dig cars. And so it was just a fun time for me. Really enjoyed it.
I think that's what spoils us as far as car guys is you spend a week with every place you go. There's friends. I always use the term race car friends, but everywhere you go, there's a cool car. Every time you stop at a gas station, there's a cool car or a cool car drives by. And then we get back into regular life. For me, anyways, I live in a town that's not as hot rod friendly as you guys. So I get back home and there's no cool cars anymore. So it's hard to adjust going from all my race car friends out to normal life. So, I'm sure you pull back in your 9-second Nova and then go, look at all your other really, really fast cars.
Yeah. Well, that's again, for me, I'm wanting to go do drag week and not work on my, like, literally, honestly, I still haven't opened the hood today from, like, we teched a car on Sunday. I still haven't opened the hood. And that's the first time I'm like, man, just let's see how it goes. Like, it just rolled through the week. And then somebody said, hey, can I see you? And I'm like, yeah, no, like, we sealed it. Like,
that's great, man.
Just because I didn't want to do it. But there's when I got cars that I want to work on, yeah, I've got a 2-seat top fuel car and a regular top fuel car that requires, listening to the stories with some of the guys, changing pistons overnight and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, you can have it. But this is my week off, man. I don't want to have any part of doing anything like that. But for them, I think it's awesome that they have there's a place to go to be able to do that. And when you were shooting names out there, I was waiting for Larry Larson, because like he was one of the early ones, like for me, that had that Chevy too. And then he's running that on drag week. And I just thought that car was so damn awesome. That you had a car that's that quick and that fast, and you could drive it everywhere. It's just a really, really, really cool, great event. I'm thrilled that there's a home for me somewhere in that I can go and do it.
One year drag week came through Tulsa, and they actually changed turbos on the S10 to street drive. I mean, can you imagine doing all that work just to drive on? Oh man, I love it. That's what I love about drag and drive.
It's really cool that you hear all the different variations of what people are doing, running the E85, and then, and then, with Lindbergh and Richie Crampton, not running the blower, but then having it all on there and still running it normally. Ask just everybody's idea on how to be able to, get their car from point A to point B to C to D to E. And it's just, it's really neat. It's just so fun to be watching everybody do their thing. And then, all the big dogs going out there and running and watching them and see how they do. It's
right
neat.
Now, is your car, is it in a naturally aspirated?
No, it's an LT4, so it's got
okay.
A little blower on it. Makes 10 pounds of boost or whatever like that. So, but
are you gonna turn it up any, or are you kind of happy with the high nines?
Well, so now that this deal, my next move with the car is I've got an LT5 and an 8-speed trans that's going to go in it. So, perfect world for me with that setup. If we could get close to like 950s with it and, still have it be fully drivable, that would be great. And then I've got the drivetrain out of that, the Nova is going to go into a 69 El Camino that I got when I got really bored during the shutdown of COVID and thumbing through Instagram, and there's this El Camino on there. A friend of mine, he's telling me about it, and I go, hey, did you pick that up? And he says, no, it's at a friend's shop, but he's selling it. And it's like, oh, okay. So flip off of the comments and go to the direct messages and like, so let me know more about it, So it's a 69 SS 396 4-speed air delete car. And less motor and trans, and he got the car and robbed parts of it to finish his. And I'm like, I feel like I'm almost saving it from the dead. But I'm going to take the drivetrain out of the Nova, slide it into the El Camino, and keep everything about it stock. And then that'll be if the Nova ever ended up on a trailer, it'd be behind the El Camino.
That's great. That is great. Well, I do want to say thank you so much for letting me stay on. I had meant to reach out to Larry during the week and actually talk to him for a few seconds, but you know how it is. You're so busy. You just don't have time. We were running around. I think I walked 40 miles last week or something like that. So just want to say thanks again to having me on, but I've got to run. My wife has already texted me. So
well, Michael, look, you go. I'm going to give you the screen. Tell everybody once again where they can find you.
Yeah, guys, you can find me at draganddrive.com, drag-in-drive.com, and on all social media under the drag_in_drive, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. So thanks a bunch, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, good talking to you.
All right. Well, folks, if you're over there and you follow Drag and Drive Addiction, you can stay because we're still going to talk Drag and Drive with Larry. We might get to some NHRA stuff. We might get to a little bit elsewhere. You were recently in my home state, South Carolina. I hope the The daughter visit at University of South Carolina went well. Look, warn her, do not go to the 5 Points district. She needs to stay away. Okay? Stay away.
You mean the place that we were at on Saturday night?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple clubs there. I was like, Matt, yeah, there's one that's like looks like it's in an old movie theater or something like that. It was 100 deep line to get in, and I'm sure that my daughter probably partakes, but she don't own it while we're in town.
Very cool, very cool. Well, Larry, look, again, I appreciate the interview while I was there at Byron in the lanes, and that has blown up on Facebook and even on YouTube. It's done really well. People have really been like, wow, Larry, and then this cool car. And there are several questions that I asked with your response. I was like, man, I wish I had more time to really bite in back on that response, but I was doing these narrow interviews because Freiberger and Loans couldn't shut up, so I couldn't do long segments. So I had to do short segments, but they do a stellar job. That was some great announcing over the week. But anyway, Unical 76, that little ball flying through the air that you're taking, 10 seconds, and you said it's out of your own personal collection from when you worked at a Unical 76 station. Yeah. Man, any good stories from working at a gas station? I've got to ask, like, you had to have some interesting times at a gas station back in those days.
I started out at the Chevron station that was catty corner to the 76 and then ended up at the 76 station. The thing that I could tell you about, it was, what could I tell you about? Donley's Union. That was Mike Donley on the station, actually bought it from Joe Funicello, which was, if there's really old people on here that remember Annette Funicello, Frankie and Annette, one of the Mouseketeers. It was her dad had a 76 station. It was there in Van Nuys, California. But I was working there at literally when they went from leaded, you had leaded gas and unleaded gas. And I worked there when leaded gas wasn't, you couldn't go to the pump and pump leaded gas anymore. I just remember when all that happened, took place. But now I don't have any good stories. I have ones that out at the street races till 3 a.m, and I've got to open at the gas station at 6 a.m. and sleeping through, and then having one of my other co-workers bail me out and get the gas station open. But it just it was good times. I worked I worked a shift for my friend that I went to high school with. He went to prom and I took his hours because I'd rather have the money than going to the prom. So, I mean, it's just, good time. It's funny as you get older, the things that you remember. But those are things that I took away from my gas station days. And then I couldn't, I wanted to work more hours, and then I wanted to work overtime. My boss didn't want to pay me overtime. So I ended up quitting there and going to work at a speed shop local to the air. There was a chain of them in Southern California called Service Center. And I ended up quitting the gas station to go work because I could get more hours, again, to get more money to be able to pour into my car.
So Roadrunner chimed in earlier and said Larry was great on Midwest Drags and dodged the deer. What are we talking about?
Midwest Drags, my last run where I was just talking about, ran a 9:87. And as I crossed the finish line, there's literally a deer on the return road. We're running at Edgewater. And it was like we made eye-to-eye contact with the deer. And I'm like, oh, okay, so what's he going to, and all of a sudden he hops over the wall. And then it's like, and then he starts going across the track. And I'm like, oh God, like it looked like he was going to split us because I was running this Hemi Roadrunner. But I mean, he run 9 flat and I'm running 980. So he's got some distance on me. And then I thought he was going to end up splitting us, but he didn't. He caught the front fender of that, the Roadrunner, and the Roadrunner's got twin turbos on it. And he's got the turbos mounted up by the front bumper. So there is no bumper. And it just, it was venison. It was venison tacos on the truck later that day. It made a mess of made a certain mess with the deer. The Roadrunner, it kind of took a beating, but it just that happened. So the only Roadrunner that escaped anything was the Roadrunner horn in my Chevy too.
Oh man, wow, wildlife, great in racing. Hardly ever does seem to work out. Now, with the rain that came in at Worldwide Technology Raceway for the last day of Hot Rod Drag Week, how did you finish out? Were you still qualified, or how did that work out?
Well, so Thursday at Cordova, I made that my last day. So as I'm driving, because I got to get to South Carolina, Parents Weekend, right? So, but as I'm driving away, and I had more time to think about like how I was leaving with the car, and I ended up I wanted to make another run, but then I'm like, no, but I need to get to my daughter. So then I'm talking to my wife. She's like, just go back, and I'm like, no, I need to just stay on point, because we were getting that. Like, I got home at 8:00 that night to get up at 4:30 in the morning to be able to drive to South Carolina. So I got a lot of miles in, driving that week. So I think I was running like fifth, like in the class, I was probably like 15th when I out of 41 or 2 in the class. And then when I parked on Thursday night, that was my last day. I think I got bumped all the way back again, for a DNF. So I'm probably somewhere in the 30s, I guess. I think I was the only one that dropped out after Thursday. Everybody else made it on Friday, and I got sent to the back of the pack again. So
overall, what did you think of the checkpoints and the route that they had laid out this year? I heard a lot of people remark that the stops were far more interesting than the year before, or the last time in which it was ran. So what were the checkpoints other than the beer can, which was great, I know?
Yeah, for me, but the last year that I got to do, I did 2016 and 2017, and then I had a break in between this year. I thought that the routes were a little bit easier, and just more user friendly. I think in 16 and 17, I mean, it seemed like there was one year we went from Columbus to Norwalk, but I think we drove through Kentucky on the way to Norwalk. I mean, it was kind of crazy, the routes that they were sending us on. So it was just a little bit more calmer, and I think it made it easier, which made it calmer and made it more fun, and I've got a maintenance free car, and I can't imagine, guys that, don't have a maintenance free car, just ends up, running you later into the night. And so I enjoyed it. It seemed like a leisure drive in between checkpoints this year. I really liked it a lot, and obviously all the checkpoints were, I thought they were cool. And no complaints on any of the stuff. The last day I kind of missed the checkpoint leaving Cordova, because it would have been gone by Tim Wilkerson's. So I missed that. It's kind of bummed about that, but I'll get it at some point in time, with or without drag week.
It was an interesting route. After Cordova, I followed 2 routes on the week, and the one after Cordova took you back through Havana, and I had just been there the weekend prior with Buddy Hull at Central Illinois Dragway. He had hopped in a front engine dragster, and that's a cool little dragway, dustiest little dragway I've ever been to in my life, but it's a neat little spot. And we get to Havana, I'm like, oh, I know where I'm at, and then the route takes us eventually where you're riding in the crown of the road, not to be in the gravel, surrounded, by cornfields, and can't even see the horizon. And I'm like, man, Tom Bailey's got to go through this.
Yeah, I hope he ain't following anybody, right?
Right.
Yeah, that you get on the gravel roads, that'd be kind of tough. But I guess after going through park, like on tech day, lining up for that, and being in the gravel lot at Worldwide, I guess maybe that wouldn't be as bad, or I don't know, but staying away from the gravel, it'd be nice. But sometimes that happens.
It does. Now, Larry, you've done a lot within drag racing. You're well up there on the top fuel wins list, 3 championships. I mean, you have done a lot in drag racing. And I'm curious, when you go to a drag and drive event, is Larry Dixon able to hide underneath the mirror's helmet and not be noticed, or can he slip in and out and not get autograph snagged? And you're like, when guys like in Monday Morning Racer comes by, you're like, shh, don't say nothing.
No, some people know and some people don't, and I'm fine with it. Like, I'm not a guy that's like, look at me, like, I mean, that ain't how I roll. So, I mean, I was posting every day. At the end of the day, a checkpoint or something. Can't do any action shots of the car because I'm not that talented to be able to do the selfie and the action and all of that. But then there was one day that it was like, literally, it was like, I got a comment, I think it was on Facebook. It was like, oh shit, like I didn't know that was you and that was your car, kind of one of those things. And it's like, I saw you, and it's funny. I just like going out there and running my car, and like I literally don't care, whether it's top fuel car, 2-seat car, or the Chevy 2. You're at the racetrack and you're out there with a bunch of other people that are in the car thing and just cruising. But I don't, like, if I had some people, I had one guy show up with a diecast car and sign it, and I'm cool with it, however it rolls. But if they don't know who I'm in their territory. It's not like they're in my territory. So I'm good with all of it. Like I said, I had a blast and just waiting in line like everybody else, whether it's tech or running the car or whatever the case is, but the last day I got got impound sticker. So I got to got to hot lap a couple times to try a couple different things. And that worked out nice. My last day being Thursday. So it's just, again, it's just a cool event. I talked to one reporter that was doing some magazine. He said, like, so what do you, like, not what's your agenda, but like, what are you promoting this week? And I'm like, nothing. Like, I'm not here on anybody's time but myself, and running my car and, just doing my thing. So it was fun.
And that has been something that a lot of people noticed in the interview when I put it out on social media, and you're definitely relaying it again. Fun. This was fun. It was about having fun and people tapping back into car culture and fun, because I think so often we get too wrapped up at times in the competition and the money and the, how can I grow a platform with a car the way in which you can today, and we don't have fun.
No, and it gets a lot of pressure, I think. I guess that sometimes there's pressure to that, and I lived that life for so long, but not in the social media world, because it was like, when I started racing Top Fuel in 1995, they didn't have any of that. And like, literally, like, as I was finishing up with Alan Abbey in 2011, it wasn't mandatory. It wasn't, quite as necessary as it is now. I think whatever company that you associate yourself with, they want you out there and they want you promoting their product and for just reasons, whether they're giving you product or giving you cash, whatever the case is, it's kind of, you have a responsibility to them to do that. And but me, I didn't have any of that stuff going on. So it definitely made it easy for the week. You just post stuff, just kind of letting people know what you're doing, where you're at. And I guess maybe the others, the other side that doesn't get talked a lot about, but, like, gosh, that Chevy 2, I mean, I drove, at one point in time, I drove that car to work when I was crewing for Don Perdome. So like, I didn't have a second car. That was my car. So it's just, to still have it this many years later, I'm glad that life never, nothing ever took place in my life where I needed to get rid of the car. that it just, it kind of sat off to the side and was just kind of like waiting for me till I had time for it. And, there it is. Like my motorcycle, I've got a Harley that when I was crewing, did it, raked and lowered it at a friend's shop, Billy Westbrook. He's a famous customizer on the West Coast. And he showed me, taught me how to ride a motorcycle, a raked bike and all of that stuff. And then I went and bought this bike, and then we raked it and lowered it at his shop. And that was kind of like my, when I could get home off the road, a week or two at a time, I'd go to his shop and we'd work on this thing until it finally got done. Again, nothing ever happened in my life where I needed to sell the motorcycle. And now I have it. I got to go on bike night last night. So it's just, it's just having fun with my toys, again, I think I'm, hot rodder first, then drag racer, then, everything else from that, but, again, just, if it makes noise, I'm pretty much into it.
So Midwest Drags, Hot Rod Drag Week, any others on the list that you want to get to? How many next year possibly to go out and have some fun in?
Those ones just because they seem to Midwest Drags, they're gonna obviously keep it in the Midwest if it's called Midwest Drags, so that works good. Just kind of wait and see what the schedule's like. For one, like when Drag Week posts, where it's at and then what's going on for that weekend. The years that I missed between 17 and this year, one thing or another, jumped onto it to where I couldn't pull it off and didn't go. So I just look at it. I mean, the sick week stuff that Bailey's got going on down in Florida, that looks like that would be I'd like to go there just to watch, I mean, it looks like a cool event. And then, and for me, not necessarily the car, but then going to some of the duck races. I'd love to just, again, I'm a racing fan, and a car guy, and like to see what other people are doing. I know, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, not just, NHRA drag racing. And I love that. And I see that, like, going to the PRI show, I think is great when you get to see how many vendors are out there and how popular racing is. And I think with the Street Outlaws, some people are like put out by it. They don't like it. Me, when I see them, crushing Monday Night Football on the TV show. So some people must think it's pretty cool. And then you see some of their No Prep King events, and it's standing room only, like literally sellouts at some of these tracks. A lot of people like it. I think that there's, I think the sport, as you said earlier, is in the sport of drag racing is very healthy, with the Funny Car Chaos and the Midwest Pro Mod events. And there's so many things going on, and there's just more nostalgia stuff happening. And then the Dragon Drive events. And it's just, it's great times. I think, like a lot of people long for the old days. I don't. I think, like what's going on now, I think it's great. I mean, Tom Bailey taking a street car and running in the fives. And I'm old enough to remember when Top Fuel Car, my dad was one of the original guys that took a Top Fuel car and got in the fives with a Top Fuel car. And now it's like, you've got street cars that run in the fives. And I remember when he did that, and I just, sent him a text that like how awesome I thought it was and how far technology's come that where you can have a car that can run that quick and fast and then still drive it 1,000 miles during drag week. So great times to be living in, and I really feel fortunate to dabble into some of it.
It is fascinating how it has evolved, and yes, I agree. I think it's very healthy. I think there's a lot of positive things going on right now, and the good old days might be these days that we're having at this very moment. And hey, as the pit reporter for Funny Car Chaos, Larry, anytime you want to come to the chaos, you let us know. We will roll out the red carpet and would love to have you, dude.
No, I'd love. I've been to the only chaos event I went to was Martin, and then we were running the 2-seater in conjunction with it. And it's just I think it's a great format. I love I love how the whole point structure with the A shows and the B shows and C shows and some of the deal, and then being able to collect the points and you didn't just not qualify. You could get into a B show or something like that and still have an opportunity to win a championship. I think it's great. It's original, and I really enjoy. I'm a fan of how they run that format, and then as many cars as they show up. Obviously, Motorplex had a crazy number of cars last year go to it, and it's just it's really neat. I'm a drag racing fan, and not just in one area. It's across the board. So I think it's really neat what everybody's doing out there right now.
Yeah, Larry, I didn't know there was this many funny cars out there when I started helping out Funny Car Chaos as a pit reporter and content and things of that nature. And Eddyville, we had over 40, Mocan over 40. Right now, it's over 50 for the finals at the Motorplex. I mean, we're talking the classic numbers.
Yeah.
For this at the end of the year. I'm like, where are all these guys coming from?
and what I love is it's not a cookie cutter.
No.
One type of body and one type of engine package or whatever like that. It's almost, big Willie, West Coast street racer, run what you brung, it kind of almost like that. And I think it's really, really neat. And there isn't a set format. I mean, Del Worsham brought his car out that one time and it's firing off shots and didn't win. There was other things, and I again, just, you not needing a big show car to be able to compete at Chaos, like there's other people out there doing it and winning without doing that. So I think it's cool. It's really cool.
So Larry, do want to take some time, talk some NHRA, talk some U.S. Nationals. First of all, your thoughts on Travis Pastrana getting behind the wheel of a Top Fuel dragster. I was there Monday, got the film, and at this point, kind of even a controversial film. I showed like the raw, unedited, nothing hidden version. So, yeah, what'd you think of Travis being in the car?
Well, first of all, heads up and applause and hats off to Alex Laughlin for putting that whole thing together to get and Scott Palmer for getting him in the car. Anybody who runs Nitro and then you see Nitro cold brew or Nitro coffee or Nitro beer or Nitro circus, you almost have an attitude like, whatever, that's not real Nitro. And to see him reach out, and he obviously has a huge following, Travis does, and to be able to get in a car and actually step on the gas, and it's not that easy, like you just can't just step on the gas and go down the racetrack, and it's not easy. And I think that gives credibility for all the guys and girls out there that do it. But I really think it's neat. It's just, Tony Stewart getting involved in the sport, and then you have a Travis Pastrana and stuff like that. It's just, hopefully opening eyes, eyeballs. Like, wow, what's going on? We've seen it on TV or maybe flipped through the channels and ran through and saw it. But then all of a sudden, if you see other people doing it, like, hey, maybe there's something to it. And if you can get more people out there, if you can get those attendance and those ratings numbers up, then you'll see the sponsorship, and that kind of stuff follow, because it's like anything that's relevant, you're going to have companies get involved in it. And I think then that would create more opportunities for other people, like a Will Smith, that's sitting on the sidelines and wants to go racing. Maybe that give him an opportunity to do it. So and there's so many Will Smith stories across the country. So the more people that can see our sport, or at least the NHRA drag racing portion of it, hopefully it'll make it better and easier for more people to get involved.
Yeah, what was your licensing like? Was it easy? Was it smooth? Any issues? I mean, obviously, one of your first ever times later on in the car before going to competition, you have a pretty gnarly accident at Bakersfield. But before all of that, what was it like? What were some of the challenges? Like, a lot of people in the video are like, well, Travis can't get it in the reverse. And I've been told from Doug Foley, like, well, finding reverse isn't actually that easy sometimes. You got to find it. It's not like a car.
It's really easy if that's what you've done your whole life. But if you've never, they're giving him the rundown in a minivan, and it kind of like lets you know, like, wow, okay, it's not everybody drag races, like, shocking, right? And so it's not, but my licensing process, I spent a season in the alcohol class, driving, half of it in a blown car, the other half in an A fuel car. So to be able to go through that process was easier. You know, I licensed in Don Perdome's car, West Cerny at the time, and they tried to make the car, the biggest thing you want to do, and that's what we did with Will, is, set the car up so it doesn't smoke the tires. Like, the only way you're going to get experience is to be able to make full pulls and really get a good feeling. So that's kind of what they worked on with me. So I made at the time we raced quarter mile. So it was, a half track, meaning 8th mile, and then 1,000-foot run, and then a quarter mile run. And it was an upgrade. So that they went very smoothly. And I thought that the top fuel car leaving the starting line, because you're slipping so much power to get it off the line, it felt pretty close to, the A fuel car or top fuel car. But then, you knock timing out of it to kind of settle the tire down, and then you give it a bunch of timing, and then you give it a bunch of clutch, and then it takes off. I mean, that's where, everybody that I take in the 2-seater, I kind of almost go through. They think that the biggest G's that they're going to feel is the starting line, and not with a top fuel car. It's going to leave with, 3-ish type G's, maybe 4. And then as the car gets going, then you can ramp up the power and give it, basically feed it more power. And, in the old days, light cars, you could get close to 7 G's. Now, the hopped up cars are probably in the 6-ish range. Our cars, probably, the 2-seaters probably in the, 4 to 5 G range, but still, like, you're getting, as you're driving from 60 feet to 330 feet, that's where all the G's are kicking in. And it keeps pulling, with the 2-seater to the 8th mile, and then we shut it off. But the other car, I mean, it's still pulling 1.5 G's at the finish line. So it's still pulling pretty good. But it just gave me so much respect for how much power the cars make. I mean, you just can't believe that. That's why we hit the throttle in the pits, just to be able to, one, for the show, for all the people there, but for the people that are around, and the rider even, that it gives you such a respect for how much power. I mean, you can almost knock the car off the jack stands just by cracking the throttle, just a tenth of a second, boom, on and off, and the engine will rev up to over close to $7,000 and come down in less than a tenth of a second. You can't. It takes way longer to explain it than it does to do it. But it's just a ton of power. Those cars make so much torque, and it's definitely gives you a respect factor. And then when we licensed Will last month, some of those things that he's talking about, it's kind of going through your mind, and it's refreshing you, at least in my case, me licensing a Top Fuel in 1994, which is, gosh, almost 30 years ago now.
So, Larry, I'm not a big fan of how did it feel questions, but I do think it is important with what has transpired recently. Larry Dixon, as an owner, was at a NHRA event with a Top Fuel single-seater dragster, the biggest one of them all, the U.S. Nationals. How did it feel, man?
It was fun. It was 100% fun. I would have liked our car to run a little bit quicker. I don't know that I brought a big enough gun for the gunfight that was I didn't, to be honest with you, with 5, we knew there was going to be 5 qualifying sessions and 25 cars, but I don't think anybody thought that all 5 qualifying sessions were going to be optimum conditions. So you've got 5 sessions, 25 cars to just keep rubbing on their setup, and it just kept lowering the bump to a record bump. But the car, Will couldn't have done a better job. He just, he went into the biggest race in NHRA drag racing with 3 runs under his belt and only 2 full pulls. So I thought he did great. The throwback for me, that made it a lot of fun. Yeah, I ran that paint scheme in 1995 as a rookie. We qualified 12th, which I thought 12th at, before getting to the event, I thought that's doable, and we're bringing a rookie. And I thought how cool it would be. And Will didn't even know what we were doing when we did it until he showed up and he starts putting on all his sponsor decals and all that. And it's like, wow, this is the MGD car. And it's like, yeah, like for me, it made it fun. I hadn't entered a car in NHRA drag racing in 5.5 years. And that car and doing it like that, it made it a lot of fun. I think we went there. We didn't make, as a team, we didn't do anything to make ourselves look dumb. I don't think Will did anything to make himself. I thought we showed decent, and I'm really looking forward to the next opportunity we have. Will's definitely, he took himself off the sidelines now. I mean, he's talked about running Top Fuel for however many years, and he's got a license and he's entered an event. He can drive a car. And now when he goes into corporate America, he's got time slips and something to substance. It's not just a pipe dream anymore. He's got a glove and he's in the game. So I'm happy for him, and I'm excited to see where he goes with it, because it's we've had very similar paths. Don't come from money, but you come from a lot of desire, and there's not a clear path. There's 20. Yeah, I talk about this. There's 25 Top Fuel cars at Indy that showed up, and there's 25 people that got a different story on how they got in that seat. And Will's was no different, but very similar to mine. Didn't come from money, but he's got a lot of desire, and you figure, if you want it bad enough, you'll figure a way how to do it to get out there, and he's doing it. And so I'm hopeful that he can get the backing to be able to get back out there, with or without, Larry Dixon. I'm a fan of him, of everything that he's trying to do.
Yeah, Larry, Will is certainly a cool cat. I've had him on the show a couple of times, if not even 3 times, and it's always a joy and privilege to talk to him. And he's a hardworking individual, and on the PDRA side or the NHRA side, and he can drive a race car. I mean, he showed that hopping in the Samsels ride and winning the baby Gators, and he can definitely get it done. And I told you in the lanes, I'll say it again, hats off to all of you for that throwback. You all did it right and showcased how it can be done and what kind of attention it can garner. And again, I firmly believe the NHRA needs a throwback weekend. And I feel like Epping would be the place to do it. I feel like that would just fit because of the track, but throwback weekend needs to happen in the NHRA.
Yeah, I'm definitely not the guy with original ideas, even with the 2-seater. That's not an original idea. IndyCar, NASCAR, everybody's been doing that. But the throwback, when Darlington did that a few years ago, I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And I literally wanted to have a car so I could be a part of it. It was just really, really neat. And then I always had that in the back of my mind. And then the deal with Will and Indy and all that came up, and I really thought it was neat. I think a lot of teams could have fun with it, but it's got to make sense. And I think that there's enough cars and enough teams that they could definitely do it. You saw Salinas do a Travers car last year at Sonoma, kind of honoring Blaine Johnson, which I thought was really neat. But our deal, it had the scheme, but we had different partners on it, and everybody was cool with it, and everybody really liked the attention that the car got. And I thought it really went well. And again, we talking about fun, fun with the Nova and stuff. Doing that throwback deal and going to Indy, that for me, that made the weekend so much fun, because we didn't let on to anybody that what we were doing. We didn't have this huge corporate backing where, there's going to be this reveal on social media. It was like we lettered the car up and vinyled it and did everything like that at the shop, peeled all the body panels off, and then, throughout the rest of the week. And then we warmed the car up on Friday. And then after we set the car on the ground, then we snapped the panels on, still not even talking about it. And then it was literally backing the car out of the pit area. And then everybody's like, whoa, we were across the pit from Krista Baldwin and just, some of their guys there, Jake Sanders and it was just really, really neat. And it was well received and got a good response. And again, it just made it fun. Like I'm getting old enough in life that I need to have everything that I'm doing. I need to absolutely have fun doing it.
I like that. Like that. Absolutely have fun while doing it. And look, Larry, last question. I know the two-seater is a big deal for you. Talk to us about the two-seater, how people can get in the two-seater, any other dates for this year. Bring us up to speed on that and how people can contact you to get in that ride.
So the two-seater, like I literally think everything is parked right now. Like I have no plans to run in any of the cars from here on out. Even the Nova, like we're gonna, I want to try and do the engine swap before PRI. The two-seater and the other car we're parked right now, but really just actually on the phone with a guy that wants to go for a ride. And what I'm going to end up doing, probably somewhere January, February-ish, when everybody kind of gets their schedules set, see what events we can do with the car. I like to piggyback other events. One, so it's like you're in a crowd of people and there's other cars going down the racetrack, and it's just again, makes it more fun for everybody, the customer, other fans that can see the car. But we'll probably run the car once a month from April through September, and we'll pick the venues that we're going to go to, and then I'm going to put a schedule out, and the people that want to sign up and go to those tracks, that's what we're going to do. We're still not. We have to stay away from the NHRA tracks still, so we're running the non NHRA tracks. I mean, we've got sanctioning bodies, from a month ago, like new ones coming up. So, we're just gonna reach out to the racetracks and see, we've got all our insurance and everything kind of squared away, so we can go run the different tracks. But if people want to sign up, and I don't have this big social media outfit, it's like me. So like, you can go on Facebook, the Larry Dixon Top Fuel Experience. I have Larry Dixon Racing. You can go on Instagram or Twitter at Dixon Top Fuel, which you're seeing that below the screen there. And if you got any questions, you can go in the comments, or you can direct message me if you want to know anything. Price. I'm and Don Schumacher again told me as recently as yesterday, I'm crazy for what I'm charging, because I'm not charging enough to run the two-seater. But the two-seater, anybody wants to know what it costs, it's $10,995, and that means $10,995 to go for a ride in a Top Fuel car. If you think that's too much, then this isn't the car for you. It's definitely not enough to pay me or to pay rent or anything like that, but that's kind of what it costs. I mean, the parts are so expensive, and last year to this year, literally nitromethane almost doubled in cost. Clutch parts doubled in cost. Everything, pistons doubled like everything is more expensive, and I'm not charging double of what I did last year. Like insurance is more than half the cost of the ride. So if you think that I can pay everybody to work on the car, pay for the diesel and hotel rooms and all that stuff to take care of my team, if that's too much money, don't do it. But if you think it's a great deal, do it. I've actually got people now that are coming back for their second rides. I did a few rides this year for people returning, because they don't think I'm going to keep going because I'm not charging enough. So again, this is a long-winded answer, and I'm sorry to carry on that way. But yeah, just reach out to me in social media. I'd be happy to talk to you about it. And when a schedule comes out, I'll end up posting it. And if you want to sign up and go for a ride in a Top Fuel car, and we only go 8th mile again for people, and we go somewhere in the 250 mile an hour range. And if people think they want to go faster, because I'll get you're not going 300 mile an hour, I ain't going to pay for that. And then it's like, well, then hop in the Top Fuel car, because I have a car that Will Smith hopped in and went 318 mile an hour in the 1,000-foot, and we can go to tracks and go a quarter mile. So, the options are unlimited. So reach out and step up, and we'll see you at the track.
Well, I know Joe Hollis, a Monday Morning Racer follower, he definitely highly recommends hopping into that two-seater. And also, you did a good deal by him. Like, you weren't satisfied on that first pass, from what I understand, and you're like, oh, we're going to make sure you're satisfied at the end of the day. So you are concerned about customer service.
Absolutely. Yeah, it could, the track, we had weather and track prep was an issue where we ran him at Memphis a couple years ago now. So we made a run and it pulled the tire off and I wasn't happy. I'm like, as soon as we got out the other end, he's like, man, that was awesome, this and that. And I'm like, you want to go again? Because I want to give you another ride. And he goes, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, because I want to give you more of a ride than that. And he said, let's go. So we went back to the pits and serviced the car and, got him down the track. And to me, I have high standards of what I'm offering for a ride. And so I hope that my standards, if I can reach my standards, hopefully it's good enough for everybody else. But I want to make sure everybody has a good time. And again, this isn't some money grab hustle trying to get people to go, it's a real top fuel car and it gets a clutch in the car every run and it gets rods and pistons in it every run. And it gets a lot of work on it every run. So, so we don't make a lot of runs in a day, I go with a scaled down crew. So we work on the car almost, when I started at Don Perdome's, there was 4 of us on the team. Well, we go to the track with at least 6, sometimes 8 people on the car to service it. So we're not that scaled down, but we're going to run that car through and give you the best experience that we can. So, and hopefully, I've never had anybody that was dissatisfied or upset or didn't think they got their money's worth out of it. Everybody, like I said, I've got people that are coming back for second rides now, and that's it's really neat to see.
Well, Larry, look, keep a close eye on that Funny Car Chaos schedule because I know that there are some tracks that would definitely fit with that two-seater. We'd love to have you piggyback on our events. And, man, look, thank you for the time tonight. Great to have you right here Thursday night on my show, Between the Slicks.
I feel like I'm with the cool kids because I could be on the drag and drive portion of the show. So I think that's awesome. And you don't have to have slicks to be on that part of the show. So it was really cool. I appreciate you having me on and again, talk about something other than even the Top Fuel car. We got to talk about my street car. So it was really cool. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you, man. Have a good night.
Peace.
Well, there he goes, folks. Larry Dixon, 3-time NHRA Top Fuel champion, multi-time winner, and drag and drive extraordinaire in a bad little hot rod in the Chevy, too. He's getting the job done out there and having fun most of all. And I had fun with each and every one of you right here on Between the Slicks. We do this each and every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And we talk about it all in the world of drag racing, from, as we did here tonight, drag and drive to NHRA, PDRA, to Southeast Gassers Association, which is on here often, Funny Car Chaos, you name it. We want to talk about it right here on Between the Slicks. So tune back in next week. And the hope is that we will continue this narrative on drag and drive for a couple of weeks, if not a few weeks, from the end, rolling away from Hot Rod Drag Week 2022. Remember, on the Monday Morning Racer YouTube channel, there is Hot Rod Drag Week content, such as the breaking story of Blasphemy with Mike Finnegan and what happened there, the interview with Larry in the lanes at Byron. There's also an interview with Alex Taylor and telling the javelin of Mr. Goldstone when they were having some complications on day 2 and day 3. So there's plenty that you can see. And don't forget about Mr. Michael Narks, the Drag and Drive Addiction channel. Go check him out as well. Thank you, Michael, for your time. And that's all we've got for tonight, ladies and gentlemen, here on Between the Slicks. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, God bless and keep the pedal to the metal.
Hero Soap Company is a veteran-owned establishment that produces all-natural, essential oils-infused soap that is sold with a portion of the proceeds supporting other veteran groups. Hero Soap Company. Heroes supporting heroes. Be a hero yourself and buy a bar and let freedom clean.